Okay. So got another session here with Dookie. And from the last week, he said the games have been really good. Like not toxic or anything, or just like, you
Not
feel like you're
really.
playing well.
Well, to me, it's more like because I think I'm not sure if like I had a Mars game. I don't know if somebody left or got mad or something and stopped playing. I don't really remember that game super well,
Hmm.
but I think in the last two of my Sand King games. So okay, this is what happened. So I had a Sand King game that I won where I think this must have been like his third game or something like that. He went jug hard support and was hitting my creeps, and we still won.
Okay. All right.
And then I have a loss with Sand King where Arlena just stopped playing at some point pretty early on.
Hmm.
And even though we lost, I felt really good about how I played, and I felt like it would have been hard, but it was winnable.
Okay.
I think maybe my teammates made like some bad decisions, and I made some bad decisions, but I do
Hmm.
think it was winnable. And overall, the games haven't been feeling like a hopeless, like, you know, kick in the dick.
Sure. Okay. So do you think that is just like coincidence? Like it's like not toxic, or do you think it's because you're changed the way you're thinking about it?
I think a little bit of both, but I want to say more so the change of how I've been thinking about it.
Okay.
Because I think before I was getting really stuck in the approach of like, oh, okay, this person's not doing this. I have to go do this, like we had talked about before.
Hmm.
But you having me reframe that in my mind of like, well, you still need to do what makes sense. I started trying to think about, okay, well, what do I realistically have to do to make us win in whatever situation that we're in currently? And thinking about things that way helped me not get stuck in so many details. Cause like sometimes I would get like, depending on the hero, I might be like, oh man, I'm really bad at lasting on this hero. Let me focus on that. And then I would be too focused on that and not focused on, well, if I just hit this guy a bunch, he can't do anything. I win the lane.
Yeah.
Fuck, yeah,
Right. Right.
fuck caring about the last hitting so much. So I tried to start thinking about those things. Like, do I need to get the last hits? Do I need to zone this person out? Is it hopeless? Do I need to get out the fuck out of the lane and farm somewhere else and then help my team get into the game?
Okay. That's
So
awesome. That's really cool.
yeah, all those things have been making like a big difference. And it's made like the smaller details a little bit less important
Right.
because it doesn't feel so much like, oh, I need to pick, you know, the best item or whatever. And that obviously that stuff helps, but it feels like more like, okay, well, if I'm playing this character, maybe the best build would be this, but for this situation, the best build is something else. For Sand King, that's been like a lot of like, okay, my this person doesn't have this item, like my hard carry doesn't have the item that they need in time to do their damage. I need to be the person. So instead
Hmm.
of tanking up, I'm gonna grab Ags.
Right. Okay. That's
You know,
awesome.
yeah,
So, can I paraphrase this as changing mindset to be less detail focused and more big picture and realistic, and then
yes,
also staying more objective and match focused? Like, what's this game about?
right,
Right?
right,
Yeah, okay. Does that sound accurate to you? Did I sum that up all
absolutely,
right? Okay.
yeah,
That's super fucking cool, man. That's a huge step there.
yeah.
And when you're talking about like details, you're talking about like what are some examples of like things you're not focusing on as much that you were before? Like you were saying like last hitting, or like what are
Yeah,
some
so
other things?
sometimes it would be like it could be anything. It could be even like even if I should be hitting this guy, am I focusing too much on that and not enough on I should hit this item timing? Or I need to hit this power spike or the lane needs to be pulled. Like besides what I should be doing,
Mm.
you know, and maybe the best thing would to be do both. What is the more important thing that is going to win us the game here?
Okay. So actually, I would say that's not detail, like being less detail focused. I think that's more of a just you're better at focusing your attention on the more important things.
Yeah.
So it's actually, I think that sounds to me like it's more about your not letting yourself get distracted by small details.
Right, yeah.
You're still focusing on details like, oh, well, I could, we need to pull this, and that is a detail, like we need to pull, but it's not like you have the RAM to fit that in because you're not hyper focusing on the other detail. Does that sound correct?
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay. So let's edit that then. So less detail focused, or changing mindset to be more open-minded and less hyper-focused. I should spell focused correctly. And focusing more on the big picture and being like realistic about what's actually achievable, right?
Yeah. That, and I think I don't know, just that kind of mindset change is like changed things that I just wouldn't have done before. Like one example of that is in the game we'll kind of look over.
Mm-hmm.
Normally with Sand King, I'm like, all right, well, I got to get the big ults off. I got a 5-man stun. Hit my epicenter, all that shit. In this game, I think I got a lot more mileage out of, I can kill this person right now, and I might not get that opportunity again, and that's going to like give us more map control. I need to use my ult for that, even if it's 1 or 2 people instead of the big 5-man.
Yeah, that's awesome. I've noticed that a lot. Like when I was learning to play Earthshaker, I had the same type of thing. It's like, okay, whatever. It's a 1-man ult, but it's good enough, right?
Right.
Yeah, that's really good being able to shift that. Sweet. Okay, that's really good to hear, man. Okay. So that's all for the week, right? So the games have felt better, changed our mindset, and we're staying more objective and match focused. Is there anything else over the past week you've noticed? And also would be more helpful is if there's actually any issues you noticed over the last week.
Yeah, that's what I've been trying to nothing too crazy. I mean, kind of the games have been just sort of slanted against my favor, but that's just circumstantial. Like the jug game, I was like, okay, well, this dude's not pulling, the other support is pulling, and he's hitting my creeps. Like I'm at a pretty big handicap here, but we're still able to pull it out because of changing, the way that we think.
Good. Okay.
So it's just been kind of like circumstantial stuff, like, what do I do about being 4v5,
Right. All right. I mean, that's okay. That's okay if there's no glaring issues. That's totally cool. Because I think that can be counterproductive as well. If we've had like a really good experience and then we still need to be focusing on the negatives. Sometimes it's okay to just like, let's just take the dub, right? Like we had a good week. It was awesome.
Yeah.
I had that experience with a coach once where I had been like stomping with Pugna doing like specific things, and he just kind of like shat all over it and said like, that's not what you should be doing, this is bad. It just left the worst feeling in my gut about it. It's like, man, I was feeling really good about myself and now everything I did was wrong. It's like, we don't want to do that, right?
Yeah, because it's important, like you could always, even the top players make fuck ups, that you could pick apart.
Yeah, right.
The biggest thing is just focusing on what's going to bring you forward.
Exactly. Okay. Which replay should we look at here?
Let's look at the Sand King loss.
This most recent one?
Yeah.
Okay, let me share my screen. Or actually, I share my... Yeah, here we go. You mentioned the Lena. What was the thing you mentioned about the Lena in this one?
Lena stops playing.
Just stop. Just like when AFK.
Yeah.
Is it roughly where in the game? Oh, that's pretty late into the game. So what would be the questions for this match then?
I was trying to figure out if there was like something I should have kind of pushed the team to do. It was kind of hard just because trying to remember the game. It felt kind of disorganized about how we were approaching fights, and because they were a full 5-man, it was easier for them to coordinate together. If I remember correctly, they played like very deathball-y at some points.
Okay.
So I guess it's kind of just like, given the situation, what it becomes at some point, how should we have reacted to it?
Do you think it's worth thinking about when the game did become 4v5 and she abandoned, or should we just skip that and think about the game up until that point?
Your turn to ban.
It's hard to say because that changed the dynamic so much. I think if we had Lena playing the whole time, it would have been really simple.
Mm-hmm.
I think it honestly would have ended up a win, but because of that, it's kind of like it. The way that we play the game was fundamentally different. So I thought I've been having this problem in games recently where like I get into the game and it immediately disconnects me, so that's annoying. But.
Yeah, servers can be crap sometimes. Okay.
You'll have to do better than that.
Do we want to be thinking about... I guess, okay, so I need something to focus on here, I suppose, is the thing. Like, do we want to be focusing on the mid game, the lane phase, like optimizations, or just like the point where Lena DCs, and then how do we play differently?
We can focus a little bit on the lane because it was a little bit of a weird situation. It felt like they just had really strong like burst.
Yeah.
So it's like every time I walk up, I'm liable to lose a bunch of health, and obviously, and it ends up being a vision battle too. But I think we take the tower before they do. I don't quite remember.
Oh, we'll watch it. I like your item swapping. That's cool. Got the stick. Very good. Very good against Luna as well.
Yeah.
Counter kill, nice. Every replay kind of just comes down to like, let's look at the lane phase, and that's... It's a little, I don't know. I get bored of it. I don't know if other people do. I mean, you're getting your items and stuff, though.
Yeah.
This'll come in handy.
Dire's top tower is under attack.
Very like walking a tightrope.
Yeah, I mean,
Really careful.
sometimes it's, yeah, sometimes that's what you gotta do, like in these harass heavy lanes, especially, it's because you're forced to lane a lot. There's not a lot of like creep pulling or dragging or anything like that going on, so you kind of just have to sit here and take it. So the biggest question would be like, do your items reflect that? And I'd say they do. Like the bracer and the wand are going to help you the most here. You could even consider like actually grabbing like a casual cloak because most of the magic you're taking here is gonna, or damage you're taking is gonna be magic. That could have been something different to think about.
Dire's middle tower
Yeah.
is under attack. Dire's structures are fortified.
Like, you know, grabbing like a Vanguard here. I think if I was coming out of this lane, I don't think I'd opt for a Vanguard, because it's like, yeah, they do have physical damage, but like most of the damage for most of the game is going to be magic, right? It's going to be like Magnus Q, everything CM does, Luna Q, Luna ult, everything Nyx does more or less, right? Well, not everything, but actually the main threat to you here is the magic. So that's one thing. Don't need a Vanguard here. It will help against Split Shot and Glaives because they're not like super high damage, but it's not a huge threat, right? What were you gonna say?
What am I trying to say? I think the problem I've had with that kind of like making that sort of decision with itemization is like, do I go for a hood, or do I know, like, I'm gonna get a BKB this game that's gonna deal with the magic damage, and then should I just get a Vanguard? And that's what I think I did that in the game before, and it felt really good, so that's why I did that here. But I wasn't sure if it was the best thing to do.
Yeah,
at the moment either. So.
I think I would have gotten the hood here. I think also, you know what? This actually goes back to, if you remember a long time ago, we did that Ember Spirit thing, right? And the whole thing was you were thinking about Yules versus BKB, as in you get to choose one or the other. And I think you need to be willing to actually go for both sometimes.
Yeah.
You know, like you can get a hood and that'll tide you over, and then you can get a BKB too, and then you can turn that hood into a shroud or a pipe or sell it, you know, whatever. Like, it's okay to double up on something if that's like the primary threat. Like, you know, if they're just all magic, then like, why not, right? I saw someone a while ago, he went Eternal Shroud and pipe. I was like, that's a little weird, but we do have all magic damage, and now we cannot kill him, so I guess it's fine.
True. Yeah.
Big thing I'm... Go ahead.
I said, I think maybe that's even more of just like, who cares what you're supposed to do or what's traditional to do? If it makes sense to do it and it'll make you win, just do it.
Yeah, totally. Totally. As long as we are still actively thinking about like what would be optimal or what we would like to do, and then we can note that this is an exception, right? Like, we normally don't want a pipe and a BKB, but that's okay. I'm noticing also you're much more willing to sit here.
Yeah.
That's a big change from the last one, and it's actually the same scenario. Like, you're the highest net worth, you're occupying bot lane. That's a huge improvement over the last one. And then when you did rotate mid, because maybe you had to fight, like, you didn't force it. Like I think that may have been a place where before you would have been like, well, I showed up here, I have Blink, I should go for this since I went here, and you just didn't force it, right? That first time, which is awesome. Yeah, this is a big improvement over the last one for sure. I'm liking this a lot. I don't know. I mean, we'll get to it, but, you know, if one person leaves the game, like, yeah, it's not. There's nothing specifically that you do differently. You're just one player down all the time, right? So it's kind of hard to, like, be like, well, in a 4v5 you should do this, in a 3v5 you should do this. I mean, it really is just, it just gets weird.
Yeah, that's kind of how it felt. It was just like, you know, you can only control people so much, and now it's like, with 4 people instead of 5, somebody making a bad mistake is even a bigger deal.
There's that too, yeah. That's also true. A lot of pauses, a lot of connection issues.
Radiant's middle tower is under attack. Radiant's middle tower has fallen.
Your item timings have been really good, getting lots of farm. Where's your last hits right now? Yeah, tons.
Dire's bottom tower
Yeah, that's why this one was so painful. I was like, man,
is under
this
Oh,
should have
yeah.
been.
Like you played really well and everything, and then
Yeah.
it's like you just get robbed. It's unfortunate.
Dire's middle tower is under attack.
Hey, what's up, sweet? I'm streaming, by the way. That fight was a clusterfuck. Okay. What the hell was that? All right, let's back that one up, because maybe this is like you were saying, you know, like you're one player down, got to do stuff differently. Like
So this, at this point, I kind of had the idea that I was being followed.
yeah.
I didn't realize that they had the blue ward there.
I don't know if that was always there, if that got placed. I think it got placed in the middle of the fight. That's your team's blue ward.
Shit, well, never mind.
But you were dusted regardless.
Yeah.
Also a reason why BKB is nice, right? You can just purge it off.
Right.
Really the only takeaway here, I would say, is that the map is totally dark.
Yeah.
And for you, all that means, like, we back it up a little bit, see if anybody was showed in any lanes, because sometimes there's context. CCM middle. So for you, the only thing that changes is it doesn't matter that Lena's not here in the game, because it's the same situation. Like we're
Dire's middle tower
a little bit behind, and we're the only person that can occupy dangerous areas, and the map is completely dark. So this is like a danger spot. I don't know if this is helpful, but I would say that because the map is so dark, you want to actually be careful about moving to predictable areas.
That's what I was thinking.
Yeah, because if they know you don't have a Lena, they're going to be like, we're so strong, let's go invade them. They're going to go like either shove down your towers or invade like deep into your jungle or the triangle. Like this should be a strong area for you, right? But you don't have that player, so it's just objectively not. You guys just don't have as much. So like this is where they will go. And so I'm wondering if maybe the better thing would be to actually just hide where you are. I mean, the other issue is that you have a Nyx following you around, and everybody's invisible right now. You have a Nyx following you around, and that does affect the ability to split push, because he might have eyes on you at all times. So potentially what you could do... God, this is such a weird situation. But you could, I mean, get yourself a sentry and kind of just like plop it here and just hide in the trees and see if he's actually like next to you, and you kind of like anchor yourself until you have more information, because otherwise it's just like weird. Like you have no, it's kind of, you're in mid game, you're down a player, there's no vision anywhere, so there's nowhere like smart to be. But if this fight does break out, then it's kind of game losing. I mean, your team showed up for it and that's all good. It's not like a clean wipe, but I don't know, man. It's also, you're down a player. What are you supposed to do?
Yeah.
I don't know. I don't feel like I can be that helpful in this one.
Yeah, it was a tough one. It felt like they were making mistakes where it's like, we can win this, like,
is under attack.
but
Yeah. It's not a clean stomp either way.
I'll take your tribute.
There is also, by the way, I mean, I know we were really focusing on the whole like occupying areas that are dangerous and stuff like that, but there is a point in the game where that changes, and your team needs you to be with them.
Yeah.
And that's potentially also something to think about. So it might be time to stop like split pushing and actually just look for fights. Start looking for objectives and stuff.
Is under attack.
I don't know, it's a weird one.
I think that's kind of what we started to do. I
Yeah,
was just like, all right, I gotta back them up, you know.
yeah, I'm noticing it now. That's good.
This'll come in handy.
Well, okay, so I will say this. I think if you identify that there is a magic threat, like like that we did earlier, almost all of your items are offensive. So
Yeah.
we didn't actually pick up the pipe or the shroud or the hood or the BKB or Lotus Orb or any of that stuff.
Yeah, I think my thinking was like, I have got to like this. This felt more like a game where like I have been doing better about not taking those big ults, but I was like, this is a game where I'm gonna need to Hail Mary.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
that's where I kind of tried to pick up as many offensive items as I could.
Yeah, I don't hate the thinking.
Radiant's middle tower.
But definitely, it probably would have been best to get a BKB still.
Yeah, I think a BKB would have been really strong here. Even though, the Magnusol goes through it, there's so much of their threat is magic.
Yeah.
Dire's top
BKB would have been good this game.
Dire's middle tower is under attack.
I mean, I would look at it also like this, right? So, like, I guess looking at your items and figuring out, like, what's core and what's offensive and what's defensive. Like, so, like, you need Arcane Boots. You need Blink. Those are core, right?
Right.
You have one defensive item, which is Vanguard, which maybe isn't the right one, but you do already have a defensive item. And then Kaya Sanj is a mix, but I would say it's mainly an offensive item
Right.
because it's not like you have like a regen or a lifesteal or something like that. So
Yeah, it's more functioning to help your fighting than it is to
Yeah.
prevent something from happening.
it's a like that specific item is kind of a bruiser item because it
Yeah.
has the Sanj in there, but I would still think of it as kind of an offensive luxury item. So maybe that's the easy trick, right? So like we switch the Vanguard for a hood, and instead of Kaya Sanj, we can get a BKB. Or if we notice that the hood is good enough, upgrade that into a pipe, and then you can get like a Kaya Sanj or whatever.
Right.
But your defense, you don't have very good defense against what they have, besides like the status resistance and the extra little bit of health you bought, because you already bought the Ag Scepter, which is a big offensive item, right? It's almost entirely an offensive item. So if picking up two is kind of risky, because this is good if you're gonna be like your team's gonna be on the offensive, like with smoke ganks, or you're winning the game or whatever, you're trying to like go for kills, but that's kind of not the situation you've been in, not the way you've been playing.
Yeah, I'm realizing too the Eternal Shroud would have helped even if I had still gone with the Kaya Sanj and the Ags. It still would have been a better item because it would have given me that spell steal.
Yeah, and this is also stuff, right? It's like I wish I could give you better advice. It's like I don't play Sand King, so it's kind of unfortunate. I wish I had more experience with him. Look how tanky this Magnus is. What the hell?
This is a sad one to watch.
Yeah. All right. Well, I mean that's pretty much all we can look for. The only other thing is it's actually like you know what, I noticed that I say that too much. I say the only other thing, and then I say that like 3 times. So there was actually 3 things. You got to catch me on that one. Another thing is that it's a lot like any game you're losing. So picture, instead of this Lena has gone AFK and abandoned, that she's just feeding super hard. It's actually the same situation. Your team is weak, you're behind. The same stuff applies. It's still we're looking for pickoffs, we're looking for high ground throws, we're looking to not overextend, and it's actually just all the same principles we were talking about before.
Yeah. Yeah, it was hard because I think a lot of it was me. Maybe that was something I could have done differently, is just kind of realize, okay, we're 4v5. I've already noticed that my team keeps getting into bad engagements before I'm even there, and I have to kind of respond to them. And maybe I need to be proactive more than reactive and stay around them, maybe buy a smoke or something like that, since I did go offensive.
I'd say either way. I guess one thing that's kind of interesting about Dota, and it comes from the map, I think. This concept of all the heroes separate for efficiency and farm, and then they come together to do something, because having more heroes is good, right? If they bring 2 heroes and we bring 4, we have twice as many heroes, we are strong, like concentration of force, right? And it's a constant ebb and flow. Separate, group up, separate, group up, separate, group up. But when you're on the defensive, you don't have as much liberty to separate, but you still have to. And when you group up, it kind of like needs to work. Like if let's say they've got mega creeps on you right now, right? If Radiant groups up and loses a fight, you guys are in such a bad position that it's actually kind of really hard for you to even punish them for that lost team fight. And on the flip side, like if they've got mega creeps on you and you group up and you all wipe, the game ends.
Yeah.
So you're kind of you're forced to sort of dodge as much as you can and then make like all in plays when you're this far behind, which is why the smokes and the solo pickoffs and weird wards is really important. So I would say in this game, like, I don't know where the cutoff would be where you stop doing what you're doing. Let's try and find it. Because I think there actually is a point here where you need to be proactively grouping up with your team and winning fights for them. But it's going to come on like power plays. Like you get these pickoffs and then go do something. God damn it, I went back too far and now we got to watch all this. So here, actually, so this is kind of a good spot, right? Magnus and CM are dead. This would be power play moment for you guys. This is where you spread out, you've outplayed them, you've gotten some pickoffs. Okay, we can group up, we can force an objective. Like I would love it if, based on like cooldowns and stuff like that, you know, you get bot cleared up, go take mid tower, something like that. God damn it. I paused during a pause. Great. Okay, those 2 kills netted you Nyx and Luna, but then your team doesn't group at all. So then they get a pick off on the SF, which, you know, we can say that's on SF, but it doesn't matter. Because maybe we should be there. Like, what is this SF doing? I shouldn't even be focusing on the SF. So the SF is doing the thing that you guys should do, actually.
Yeah.
Where you guys have a pick off and he's like, great, let's take an objective. We're behind. Now's our chance. And you guys are split all over the map farming. I think you should be with your SF here. And you should try and get your team to group here and get something.
Yeah.
Because not only will you get this mid tower because they're down Luna Nyx, if their response is bad and they trickle heroes in, this could turn into racks off of just this.
Yeah, and I think that's a situation where I'm doing the opposite of what I've been doing differently. Now it's just like, oh, wave is here, I need to push it.
Yeah, that's a primarily like a post lane phase thing. So like we can, if we just say, let's be generous and say the lane phase lasts 10 minutes, right?
Right.
Once the lane structure breaks down, you know, like a tower goes down, 1 hero is allowed to rotate. The timing is actually about 6 minutes. It's the power rune. Usually that's where this happens. Like 1 hero gets the power rune, they turn that into a kill, which gets turned into a tower, and now the map is lopsided, and that's where the lane structure is like broken down, right? Now you're in like post lane phase, and this is the area where you doing this type of thing, split pushing and occupying like dangerous farming areas and stuff like that. That's great, and that is a gearing up for mid game team fight phase. So this is like it's not mid game, it's pre mid game post lane phase, and I'd say it lasts up until about 20 minutes, depending on how behind some heroes are. And this is the window where people are going to be buying their core items. So they're going to be buying their blinks, their BKBs, their glimmer capes, their force staffs, their whatever the hell it is that they need to function for the rest of the game. This is where they get that. And I guess for you, what you could do to make this easier on yourself is identify, like, once you've achieved that, like, okay, lane phase done, great. So we don't care about bracers anymore. We don't care about tangos anymore. We're done with the lane phase. Like, you don't really buy a tango past the lane phase, right?
Yeah.
You kind of just buy salves at that point. So it's kind of like you can very easily say, like, tango lane phase item. Pretty simple, right?
Right.
Or, you know, iron branch. We're not really buying those past the lane phase. It's a laning item.
Yeah.
Then it's, what are my core items? For you, it's like arcane boots, blink, and one defensive item. Like Vanguard, Hood, Yules, whatever the hell it is. That's kind of like your trifecta, right? So what you can do easily is just identify, like, do I have my core items? And then this post lane phase can end, like, for me whenever I want it to. I don't have to do this split push thing anymore. I've got what I need. I can go do stuff. And so actually, whenever that happens, let's back you up here. I could just do this to be a smart boy and look at player items. So 17 minutes. You have your blink. At that phase, we could start saying, like, okay, we don't have to be worried about this as much anymore. So let's go to that point. I hope this is all helpful, by the way.
Absolutely.
Okay, good. Because if it's not, and if it's stuff that you already understand, just tell me. That's totally cool. It's actually, what's interesting is that it lined up really well with when you were forced to rotate to middle, or you chose to rotate to middle. Okay, get your blink, boom. Okay, it's actually kind of nuts how well this lines up. Like, you get the blink, you got your core items, you're actively TPing to a fight. It's just that this fight is probably not the best fight, so it's kind of unfortunate because they've already gotten 2 pickoffs and Drow is not ready to fight, and I don't know where Marcy is. Marcy's helping Drow, I guess. So it just sucks that that didn't line up. But this would be a great instance. Like, say Lena and SF were still alive, and you're like, oh, they're pressuring us. I have my core items. Let's TP in and wreck them. Like, this is like item timings coming to fruition, right?
Yeah, you could see I wanted to fucking ult really bad.
Mm-hmm. And it just doesn't work out because the other team made the play faster than you did.
Yeah.
Basically. So now there's no point in forcing it. But this is all good. We're, like, still occupying the area, and then a fight happens because we did it. So we actually did force a fight to happen just by being down here while they wanted to push. You know, and now there's 3 dead.
Yeah.
So now this is the reset period. Everyone goes back to farming. Once everyone's good again, you guys should look to group up again. It depends, actually. So the tempo of all the heroes is based on their cooldowns, right? So with Sand King, you can very easily just say every 110 seconds, maybe I can look for a team fight because that's the cooldown of my epicenter right now.
Yeah.
So you're not ready yet. You don't have epicenter. They're ready to go. They make a play. And then once, you know, you don't have the mana to show up. So it's actually just about these windows. Get the pick off, hooray. You actually have to reset now because you guys took a ton of damage from that. It's easier if I just focus this on you. And one issue with low rank games is that there's first off, there's not a great understanding of this concept of the separate group up thing. It's
Right.
like they kind of I've noticed most players, actually just in general, just most players they tend to hyper focus on one or the other.
Yeah, no, absolutely.
They either split up and farm too much, or they forced fights too much, and it's striking that balance is really tough. And it's because striking the balance is based off of hero matchups, ability cooldowns, stuff like that. Like I am like just now trying to track cooldowns on big abilities.
Right.
Where it's like Enigma Black Hold, and I like try to timestamp it, and I try to like figure out like, how many seconds is that? When is his ult going to be up again? And I'm not good enough at it yet to actually like do it quickly, but that's where I want to get to. So if I'm playing against the Sand King and I know that you're level 18, yeah, you have 100 seconds, it's like, he ulted at 22:57, so that means 23:57 plus 40 seconds, 24. What do you know? I try and do that math. Be like, I didn't have epicenter for this long exactly. It's actually the same thing as tracking Roche.
True.
It's fucking difficult. But anyway, that's part of the reason why people are bad at this concept of like knowing like when they can group up and when they shouldn't group up and all this stuff.
Yeah, I think especially in low rank, it's also just kind of like theory, if that makes sense. Like a lot of people don't really understand. Like one of the biggest example is the enemy team starts winning fights, they start death balling, and then immediately your team will be like, all right, well, we got a death ball too. And it's like, how does that work? Because they're stronger than us, so they just win the death ball match.
Yeah, and that's that one is actually extra hard, because if you are losing because the enemy team is grouping up, it can be really hard to identify if them being grouped up is kind of nothing you can do about because they're just stronger if they group up, or if like they just made the play faster and if you group up you actually would win. And that's, I think, what a lot of people are kind of assuming when that happens, like, they just grouped first, we need to group and we'll be fine. And sometimes it's no, like we just need to dodge for a while, right?
Yeah.
Super hard to identify all that stuff. So don't worry about that if you get that wrong. But trying to think about it at all times, it is important. Like, who has the better team fight, right?
Yeah.
Like, say, actually, it's worth thinking about here. If you look at these two comps, like, that's actually something I should have asked you, is like, how do you feel about these two comps? Like, do you feel like one of them has better team fight, or one of them farms better, or one of them has better solo pick off or better vision or something? What do you think?
Yeah, I think that they have the much better team fight than we do. Like, our team fight is really good if we set up on them perfectly. So if I get off my big ult, then Shadow Fiend gets off his ult, and then Drow is just fucking killing people. Lena, hits her ult on somebody and picks them off. It's really good. But in general, they have like 4 big ults. They have Medusa ult, they have Luna ult, they have RP, and they have CM's ult.
True, but I personally would call into question how, I agree with you. I think their team fight is a little bit stronger, but I think their team fight is stronger on paper and not actually in practice. So, for example, Luna ult can be controlled for. Like, she doesn't want to ult if you're on a wave, because then she's going to hit the wave a bunch, right? CM ult, literally any silence or stun stops it immediately. Medusa ult, you can actually control for it as well. Like, if you have the liberty to, you just turn around. It didn't do anything. Like, it forced you to turn around, but it's not like it killed you, right? The Magnus ult is really the only X factor to my mind, because it's like, I can't control really like if he RPs me or not. Like if he RP'd me, that's like binary. That happened. It's not like an
Yeah.
overtime thing, right?
Right.
And on your side as well, like you're kind of, it's like you got SF ult, kind of everything you do, Marcy's ability to get pickoffs, Drow's not great at team fighting without a front line, and then Lena is, you know, maybe good with setup and stuff like that. But like your stuff, it gets really easily interrupted by Nyx.
Yeah.
As something to think about, right? I don't know. It might be really hard for SF to ever get an ult off because Luna could just ping him with a stun real quick. You know, all this kind of things. But I think you're right. I think they do have better team fight, but it's not like dramatically better.
Yeah, it feels like our team fight needs more setup because I think that's something that happens multiple times in the game where Luna just stuns me or SF, and it's like, you know, fuck. Whereas they can, like, they might be able to get interrupted, or in there's situations where like, you know, obviously Luna ulting on a wave is bad, but they can just kind of slam their ults easier.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah,
we have to really think about ours.
yeah, you got to like channel the epicenter, you got to channel the SF ult, all that stuff.
Yeah.
That is true. Actually, there's instant button presses.
Yeah.
It's just that the effect of theirs is sometimes delayed as well.
Yeah.
Well, anyway, I don't know if that discussion is helpful, but
No, I think that's like something I try to think about every game, and sometimes it's hard to think about it as soon as like we're in the game, and then it becomes really obvious later. Like, shit, they can do this really easily. We might have to set up. So how do we do that? Or is our team fight just more conducive to not a big engagement and just picking off?
yeah. And also, I mean, obviously, again, right, it comes back to this, like, who wants to be in the fights? Like, obviously,
Yeah.
Medusa doesn't want to show up to fights, but, like, Magnus, CM, and Nyx, like, they're A-okay with it. And, like, you and Marcy and, like, I'd say Lena are the ones that should be looking for fights. Drow doesn't want to show up either. So really, like, actually, in the, like, the lane phase and the post-lane phase, it's not even the whole comp. Like, it's actually, you're trying to figure out, like, does Magnus, CM, Nyx beat Marcy, Sand King, Lena?
Yeah.
Because, like, you know, on paper, right? On paper, obviously it's not always like that, but that's actually the situation you'd probably be in. And that's where your items can come in, right? So you can say, like, you know, maybe Yules would have been good here because you're scared of particularly CM's route stopping you from burrow striking out.
Right.
You know, I don't know. That's why I said I wish I could play more Sand King because it's like or I wish I could play Sand King better.
That this game, if Yules would have been a better item, but
I think Yules is slept on. I think Yules is really strong.
no, it's especially good for Sand King. I've used it in the past a bunch because, especially like early game, like when you're strong, what's their best answer to you after you know, Sandstorm?
Dust.
They're gonna
Yeah.
throw dust, and then you just get rid of it. You know, that's super strong.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay. All right. So let's try and summarize this into something workable.
Yeah.
So what's our lesson here? Let me try and think. Well, I guess what were the three things you took away, and then I'll fill in. So give me like three big things here.
Fuck it. I'm so bad about shit. As soon as we do it, what did we say? We said it's important to consider team fight. Who has the better team fight? At what point in the game do we need to start thinking about being proactive in grouping? And thinking about our defensive items a little more for this game.
How much defense do we need? And what type of defense
Yeah.
should it be? I think that's perfect. Yeah, think about who has a stronger team fight and why. Because, you know, that's conditional. Sometimes it's a terrible CM game and everybody can stop or ult, so their team fight actually sucks, right?
Yeah.
When does the post lane phase end? I think that's actually the main thing I kind of want you to start thinking about is like, when are we actually done farming? Like us specifically, our hero is done farming, and then you can actually expand it into like, when are my other cores done farming? When do my supports have like exactly what they need? And like at this bracket, people are not going to know exactly what they need, and you're not going to know exactly what you need either. This is an experience thing, but actively thinking about it and being like, am I good to go? All right.
Yeah, and I think an added part of that is also like proactively thinking about, okay, let's think about our best case scenario. If we wipe them right now, what do we immediately do after? Because I think that like, if I was mid with SF, maybe that would have changed the game.
Yeah, good one. Good, definitely good. Looking to capitalize on power plays or timings or whatever, right? Whatever it is, just looking to capitalize when we have an opportunity.
Yeah, because that, if I like know, okay, the best, because if you look at the map right now, the best thing that we could do is take mid tower. That should be like, we wipe them, we fucking take that tower. That would prevent me from just going like, oh, well, pushing waves is good, I'm just gonna push waves.
It's similar to Hearthstone, where it's like, you ever play Hearthstone? Yeah. Did you check for lethal? Did you miss lethal?
Right. Yeah.
Always keeping that in the back of your brain is good. Okay, good. Okay, so we got to think about who has stronger team fight and why. When does the post lane phase end? When should/can we group and fight? Itemization, how much defense do we need and what type of defense should it be? And then for looking to capitalize on opportunities for your power plays, item timings, etc. I think that's good. I think it's a lot of like big concept stuff to think about and kind of manifested here. And we can just ignore that the Leno, abandoned because of connection issues. Screw it.
Right.
But it is, if you're gonna play the game out, it is worth thinking about it. It's not like, we're down. Like if you actually are trying to win every match, try not to think about it as like, oh, it's 4v5, it's unwinnable. In that case, exactly. Think about it more like, oh, Lena's just like super far behind, right? Because it does happen. Sometimes you have like a 70-minute game or something, and the guy's like, sorry guys, I gotta go, and you're like, but I just spent an hour, I really want to win it. And then you actually do need to like think about it, and you really just, it's actually the same thing. It's the game is the same, it's just that now you're behind. That's all.
Right.
Oh, cool. All right. Any last thoughts here, or things to think about in the future?
Not too much. I think things are starting to like kind of add up slowly. Like, some of it I'm sure is kind of a little bit repetitive, but every time we go over it, the more it seems to sink in for me. And I think those things are adding up, and I'm starting to get the feeling again of being like, okay, I'm playing outside of my bracket. So I just need to keep doing this and I will move up.
Right. Absolutely. Yeah. Have we made any progress so far, or is it kind of the same?
We were, and then we had that whole streak of going backwards.
Yeah.
And even though, like, see, that's the thing. Like, I still kind of consider that Sand King game a win because I feel like I did a lot of good things.
Yeah.
And I feel like if Lena was there, then we probably win.
I think so too, yeah.
Yeah, even though it's a loss, I don't feel super demoralized about it because I'm like, all right, well, shit happens.
That's really good. Yeah.
Yeah, the important thing is that I had a pretty huge impact on the game.
Absolutely, dude. Yeah, that's really good to hear. It's good to hear that you feel like it's gelling for you and it's like all starting to add up and you can actually start applying it. And it's also it's really good that you have that mindset of like, it doesn't matter if I win or lose. Like, did I play well? I can count it as a win. That's all. Because I'd say here, your highest net worth, your score is the best. Like, you were doing your job, you know, like, obviously everything could be a little bit better. We could itemize better, whatever the hell. But like, ultimately, like, you felt like you played well, and you did. And then that's all the takeaway is, right?
Yeah.
That's really good. I'm glad to hear it, man.
Yeah.
Awesome.
It's been fucking good, man. These have been super helpful.
I'm very glad to hear that. So yeah, just keep that in mind. And actually, as a refresher, because I have it typed out here. So the lessons from last week were: if we're strong, we want to occupy areas and force responses. So I saw that change that happened. Predicting if our team is going to do something silly and being ready for it either way. I was kind of seeing that too. Like, you were more willing to rotate and trusting your gut and not forcing a decision. I was seeing that too. You were like, this feels bad, I'm not going to do it. You know, that was really good. And then we have the ones from this week. Are you taking notes as well? That might help you.
I should take notes. I rewatch our stuff, but it's probably helpful just to have it like, okay, right before I, you know, because I'm not gonna every time I go into a game watch the whole video. It might be good to have that on a notepad just to be like, okay, this is the thing we need to think about, you know.
Absolutely. Yeah. That's what I'm doing. I'm keeping a notepad log of each week, and I just copy pasted it to you.
Hell yeah, I appreciate it.
So just save that to notepad or whatever, and we'll do that. I have like pages of notes. Like, every time I do like a BSJ session, like I try and write down the big things, and I actually go back and try and read them and stuff like that. And it can be hard to remember everything, but the practice is helpful, especially depending on how you learn. That's another thing. Like, some people I know, like, they only remember something if they write it down, you know.
Yeah.
That's not necessarily me. I tend to dump things as soon as I write them down, but like, if I don't write it down, I might just forget it anyway. So this is definitely helpful.
Yeah, I think for me, it helps to have that. But the biggest thing for me is like, it's kind of everything I do in life is just like, I have to immediately apply it. So probably what will happen is I'll just play a game right after this and try and do all those things.
Sounds good.
Just so it's in my like muscle memory.
Absolutely, yeah. All right, dude. Well, good luck in your game. Good session. I'm glad to see stuff's working out. And we'll do this again next Monday, right?
Yeah.
If that works for you.
Sorry about this. Monday was kind of a weird day.
It's okay. It happens.
I think honestly, I thought it was supposed to be Tuesday. I don't know why I thought that, but we definitely set Mondays.
It's down to you. Whatever's easier. I mean, right now all I have is like the BSJ thing on Wednesdays, and then I just stream every day. So it's honestly like any day you want to do it is fine. But I do think we should try and keep it a consistent day, whatever you choose.
Yeah, it'll definitely. So like, it kind of depends because I am looking for a new job. My job right now, I have Mondays and Tuesdays off. So for now, until I find a new job, it'll either be Monday or Tuesday. I can guarantee that. But might be subject to change eventually.
Should we just call it? What do you want to call it for now? It's easier for me if I like know what day it's going to be. Do you want to do Monday or Tuesday, or is it like you're not sure which one it'll be each week?
Let's do Tuesday then, because Mondays for the most part are fine, but there are situations where I might be busy.
Tuesdays at 2 p.m. or 2 p.m. West Coast?
Yeah.
Okay. Got it.
That works for me.
Sounds good, man. All right. Well, good luck in your games. Thanks again for the session.
All right. Hell yeah. I appreciate you. Thank you.
All right, man. Have a good one.
All right. Peace.
All righty. We can stop sharing our screen. Cool. All righty. That was a pretty good one. I was happy with that.